Hello friends, welcome to another deck profile. We've got here Dwyer. Really laughed. We got Dwyer and his Madolche deck, who topped in a regional, and it's unusual because it's a rogue deck, and you did quite well in that regional. This was previous format as well.
Yeah, last format I started the regional off 5-0, and then unfortunately So round 6, the Salamangreat player drew one off Phoenix, and it was a Foxy and normal summoned, and then off the Foxy he excavated Circle. And then he still had Gazalian deck, and I was like, sucks to suck, I guess. I was like super far ahead as well. I had Teacher, so it was game. And then last round I was playing Simon here, and I opened unplayable twice, and it just do be that way sometimes.
That's unlucky, man. But what place did you end up in?
I finished 8th, so I got super lucky. I cooked Diana on tiebreakers.
Alright, should we have a look?
Right, so 3 Magileine. This
right,
one.
if you flip it upside.
Huh?
Upside, yeah. Cheers, mate.
3 match. So this one's the Strauss of the deck. It searches for the rest of them. It's the best starter until there's a monster engraved, and then it's not a starter anymore. And it's shit.
You said there was like a bait strat with this.
Oh yeah, for sure. So like I'd normal summon this, and like because it's a normal summon that searches something. Pretty much, I'd say about half of my opponents hashed it, and then sometimes I had the Petingcessoeur to drop as the follow-up, and they just lost on the spot, because that's just an OTK.
Yeah.
3 Anjelly, this is the best card in the deck, like, it's so fucking good. This one, for everyone who doesn't know, it lone fires a Madolche. Petingcessoeur, this one is multi-faker, but the card it summons, it lowers its level by 1. The only requirement to summon it is that you have no monsters in your graveyard. Yeah, it's really good. It's the reason the deck's good now. 2 Hoot Cake, so this one's kind of a starter card, but it's only a starter card if you have a monster in a graveyard. So it means that these starter cards over here, they don't require any setup, whereas Hoot Cake does, so I chose to play 2 of this, because it's also part of the combo. Okay. So you need one in your deck at all times. 2 Messenger Lato to search the 2 spells. It's the worst card to draw, but you don't play 3 because that's incorrect.
It's a garnet.
Yeah, it does nothing in your hand. Yeah. And then the best card in the deck, Petingcessoeur.
The best card?
No, it's not.
Okay.
But so this card has a secret effect where if it battles an opponent's monster, I can target a card in the field and destroy it. And because I think until round 5 nobody read any of my cards, I think I popped like 8 cards off of this.
No one knows what this card does.
Yeah, one person read it 3 times and then attacked into it anyway, and I was like, okay, I guess you lose.
Okay.
So I played 4 Kaijus. These were incredible throughout the course of the day. I didn't play as much Orcust as I expected to, but one of the Orcust variants I played was Lunalight Orcust, and he opened suboptimally, so I ended on Dweller and the counter trap, and Dweller does next to nothing to this deck. The only thing it does is, if the Madolches are destroyed, they shuffle themselves back into the deck, and that's like the only graveyard effect the whole deck has.
Yep.
So yeah, he ended on Galatea Dweller, and the Dweller was just not there pretty much, so I Kaiju's Galatea and he died.
So these came in very relevant in the
yeah, I can't think of a single matchup where I sided these out. They were incredible. It was really good for turning off the Salamangreat counter trap as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times I ended on something like Wolf Dweller, and it's the same scenario as the Crescendo Dweller. The Dweller's just nothing. You just ignore it, and losing the counter trap means you pretty much just win.
Nice. Okay. 4 Kaijus.
Yeah. The only monster hand trap that I ran in the deck was 3 Gamma and the Driver. Right. This one in particular is better than other hand traps in the deck because, as I said before, Petingcessoeur requires you to have no monsters in the graveyard, and this clears itself off of the field, as well as it being probably the single highest impact hand trap in the format, which is just incredible. Alright, I played 2 Pancratops, so apparently only got 1 with me. This card was also very good.
So it'll be 2 Pancratops then?
Yeah, 2 Pancratops. One of the main issues with Madolche is that because you only have 9 real starter cards, your tendency to brick is actually quite high. So a lot of the times I would use the fact that this card is really oppressive on the field. I'd summon it and I would use it, I'd beat over their monsters, and I'd try as hard as I can to not burn the effect until they're threatening game. Because a lot of the time it was about surviving the game until you drew the starter card and then just killing them.
Alright, it's not 1 now. Wait, what would you swap it out for?
So Pancratops going to 1 is actually really unfortunate for the deck because it's one of the best cards in the deck. So looking forward to the new set, the new Gizmek card, Gizmek Kaku. It summons itself while there's a monster in the extra monster zone, and it targets a monster in the extra monster zone and equips it, and then if it beats over something it summons it. I'd say that's probably the most suitable replacement. The other one is Lightning Storm, just for its complete blowout potential. But one of the problems with Lightning Storm is that Spiral's starting to get anti-spell fragrance with the Curious Griffin combo.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure I want to play that yet because it does nothing against what I personally think is going to shape out to be the best deck in the format.
Right, the Spirals, you think it's going to be the best one? Okay. Yeah, let's continue.
Spells and traps, 3 Twin Twisters. This card's bonkers until you play against Salamangreat, and then it's okay. It's not great against Orcust either, but because they're ending on IP Babel now, it's kind of fine. If they go towards Crescendo, which no one did, then, you know, decide it out for something else anyway. Yeah, I didn't see it when I needed to against Silent Key, but every other time it was broken. 3 Call by the Grave. So the other issue of this deck, alongside the consistency issues, is the fact that a well-timed hand trap will end your turn unless you have opened absolutely bonkers. So Call by the Grave is mandatory in the deck, alongside the fact that we're in a format where the graveyard was functionally the second hand for all of the best decks. So if you didn't end up Called by the Grave in a card, it was a followed interruption when they made you go first, which they always fucking did. 2 Chateau, 1 ticket. So some people are cutting the second Chateau and it gives you absolutely no grind game at all. Drawing the Chateau later on into the game turns on Petingcessoeur, it turns on Magileine as a 1-card starter. And it triggers Ticket if that's already face up on the field. Ticket is absolutely bonkers. So this card, when a Madolche is shuffled into the deck, or added to your hand because Chateau lets you add the Madolches to your hand instead, this card adds a Madolche from deck to hand, or if you control a fairy type Madolche, it summons it. You can summon it from the deck instead. This meant that you could summon Petingcessoeur from the deck during your opponent's turn, and then use her effect on special summon. Special summon another card, which meant that oftentimes off of the Petingcessoeur, I would summon the Puddingcess, and because my opponents can't read, they attacked it.
They can't read the cards.
Yeah. One person didn't read this so much that he didn't realise it was at 2300 because she's being boosted by her own effect going to 800 in Chateau, putting another 500 up, so she was at 23, and he ran the Gamma Seal into it while he had Dynamite Knight on the field and just went, okay, damage step, and then went, you take 100, now pop your Dynamite as well. That was broken. Chateau's cute. It has a nice interaction with hand traps where if they are shuffled into the deck through the effect of Madolche, Teacher, Glassouffle, you can add the hand traps back to your hand instead. Unfortunately, I felt like because hand traps that go to the graveyard conflict with your engine so much, you really can't afford to play them. Monster Reborn. This card is a generic extender, and it makes Anjelly plus this card is the OTK, whereas Anjelly on her own isn't. It's a free body in a lot of times where a hand trap will end your turn and leave you on 1 monster, and it allows you to get into Teacher, which is actually the reason why I played this deck. But I'll explain that more when I get to the extra deck.
We get there.
Yeah. 3 evenly matched. So a lot of the time I found that cards like Infinite Impermanence were really problematic when you were going first. So instead I just chose to go second and evenly them, because then the Impermanence is gone between evenly Twin Twisters and Pancratops. You could remove Impermanence, Solemns, and they just became unimportant. And losing the battle phase doesn't really matter, because if you actually set up the Madolche soft lock that they have, where it's Madolche, Teacher, Glassouffle, the Link 2, and both the spells, and then potentially a Tiaramisu if you've broken, but like that doesn't happen often. Most decks can't actually out that, so it's fine. And then the last card in the deck is 3 Impermanence.
As you mentioned.
Yeah, so again, it doesn't conflict with the engine, it's really, really good.
Yeah. A hand trap, non-monster hand trap.
Yeah. Right, onto the extra deck. So I played 3 Glassouffle. So this is actually the best card in the deck. All jokes aside, this one's the good one. So, quick effect to detach one, you can target a Madolche on the field and make it unaffected by monster effects. It comes up quite a lot because people don't realise it. The other one is the Link Monster's got 1500 attack. So sometimes they'd run Shizuku over the Link Monster because Shizuku was making it lose attack, and then you just make the Link Monster unaffected, and then the Shizuku crashes. The second effect of this is, if a Madolche hits the grave in any way, you can shuffle 2 cards from either grave. So they swung the Shizuku into the Sistar, and I made the Sistar unaffected by monster effects. And then used Teacher's effect to shuffle all their rays back into the deck. So then Shizuku just dies.
So nothing happens,
yeah.
Madolche, boo!
3 Tiaramisu. I'm pretty sure that everyone that knows Madolche knows what this does. Non-target, shuffle 2 by shuffling 2 Madolches away. It's the most powerful card in the deck, but oftentimes it's just an empty threat to bait out all of their interruptions, and then follow it up with the playmaker of the deck, which is Madolche, Petingcessoeur, Chocolate a la mode. Yep. So if this card gets hand trapped, you also lose, but most people don't hold them for that long, so it's kind of safe now.
Yeah.
But I let the Tiaramisu eat up all the interruptions so that I can make this, and then this has 2 or 3 effects, I can't remember. The first one is you shuffle a Madolche card from your graveyard into your deck. And then the second one is if a Madolche card is shuffled from the grave into the deck, you can detach one to summon a Madolche from the deck, and that's not once per turn. The shuffle effect also comes up in follow-up turns to trigger Ticket. Worth note is it needs Petingcessoeur as a material to summon from deck, which is why Petingcessoeur lowering the level by 1 is so important. The Link Monster, 2 Sister. This card is absolutely not what the deck needed, but I'll take it, I guess. So the soft lock involved in this, because this card, it protects itself. If it were to be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can, as a Return of the Dragon Lords-like effect, shuffle Madolches from the grave into the deck instead, which synergizes with Chateau because you can add them to your hand as well. And while this points to Madolches, neither of the spells or traps can be targeted or destroyed by card effects. So that was really good because a lot of the times you use evenly to break the board and then you just sit on this and Tiaramisu sometimes and always teacher pretty much. It was really good.
With Master Rule 5 coming up, would you need this Link Monster as much?
I'll probably still play 1 because of the applications it has going first.
Yeah.
But it becomes completely unnecessary, and the best part of it really was the arrows and the fact that Petingcessoeur locks you into Madolche.
Okay.
And now for the non-Madolche extra deck monsters, Abyss Dweller. This has a very specific use. It didn't come up all weekend, but I'd still keep it in there. If you open up Petingcessoeur, any level 4 Madolche, and Anjelly, you go to spec Petingcessoeur and then that gets ashed. You normal summon the other level 4, overlay them both for Dweller, and then you pass with a really, really powerful follow-up in the form of Anjelly. And this card turned off the whole format.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, it was, I'd choose to teach a pass if I didn't have a follow-up, but if I had the follow-up as well, Abyss Dweller was 100% better for the deck. Phoenix, this is for deck can be only 1. That's the only reason. Blacklist Soldier of Chaos. This isn't necessary, but I really liked it because a lot of the decks in the format, bar Orcust, had real problems with anti-targeting. So you can make this with either Pancratops and a Kaiju and then Madolches. The down arrows are really good. The removal effects are really good, but it was mainly just because it can't be targeted, and that was really difficult for both Salamangreat and what was the other good deck that format? Sky Striker. It's not good. It was difficult for it to deal with. Borrow Sword. So it comes up sometimes if you get Tikabooed and you're not locked into Madolche. So this was one thing that would sometimes happen. It didn't come up at the event, but I'd still keep it in there. If they flip Tikaboo, enough of the Madolches are different types so that you can brute force your way to Borrow Sword OTK. So being locked out of the Fairy extra deck monsters wasn't as big a deal. And then Appaloosa, because Nibiru was the absolute death of me, and I will always be afraid of that card if I play this deck. So a lot of the times I was made to go first because my opponents knew what deck I was playing because they'd seen me at top tables. So a lot of the times I would end on Teacher and Ticket in games 2 and 3 in case they Nibiru me. Because, this combo also normally ended on a Hoot Cake. This can't be destroyed by battle if you didn't use your Anjelly for the combo. So what you do is you use the teacher effect in that turn, shuffle one of their cards as an interrupt, and then shuffle one of yours. Ticket summons Petingcessoeur, which summons another one, which means that with any normal summon you could get to Appaloosa and then have the Hoot Cake there to summon the Petingcessoeur and go full combo, and you can't be Nibiru'd anymore.
Nice.
Yeah, put these all right.
Then OTK them.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay, side deck.
One Hoot Cake, I've lost it, I don't know where it's gone. It was a Hoot Cake.
The Italian Hoot Cake.
Yeah. So this card was important because if you sided in hand traps at discard, you need your Magileine and your Petingcessoeur are no longer starter cards, and your Hoot Cake becomes a starter card. So if I ever side in discard hand traps, I would side out one of the Magilines for the Hoot Cake because it becomes a starter card in Magiline's place.
Alright.
Now I played 2 Ice Blossom just to fill out the rest of the space. This was probably incorrect. It came at once, it was pretty cute. 3 Lancia. So this card was dog shit, but it's also really, really cute.
Okay.
So because of the interaction of Teacher and Chateau, let me just try and find...
There we go.
There we go. So with Teacher and Chateau, Chateau says any monsters that would be put back into the deck by the effect of Madolche can go to your hand instead. So if you draw the Lancier at any point, and you are able to get into this, you can functionally Lancier them for the entire game, because you just keep adding the Lancier back off of the Teacher.
Yeah.
Which is really cute in practice, in theory, but in practice, System Down was just as good against Orcust and didn't conflict with your engine.
Yeah.
So, siding this was incredibly incorrect.
Okay. So you would first System Down over this?
Yeah, I swapped these out for System Down and these out for Cosmic Cyclones. That will change again as the ban list has changed the format.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
3 Nibiru. This is another hand trap that doesn't conflict with your engine because it stays on the field after it's resolved.
Yeah.
It's a complete blah against decks where their boards are a bit too ignorant for Madolche to play through, so Madolche can play through between 1 and 2 negates fairly easily, but beyond that it's incredibly difficult to play. Appaloosa wasn't really a problem because you could summon Pankratops, and unless the Appaloosa was 4 material, you could just beat over the Appaloosa. But it was cards like Savage Dragon, not Pendulum decks because they get Jackal King out before 5th summon, but Floodgate-like monsters, so like Nightmare Griffin, which wasn't relevant then but is now. But this was more anything that summoned 5 times and you couldn't consistently break their board. Also, it just made Salamangreat so free. 3-dot ruler no more. So this card was important in case I played against really, really ignorant decks like Pendulum, where they just put up 5 or 6 negates. It's an FTK. It doesn't matter that you get a turn. It's a formality. They're going to kill you next turn.
Yeah.
You're not going to play the game. This card turned off those decks. I didn't side it in all day because I didn't see any Pendulum.
Yep.
Another kind of relevant one that is, because Necros is a rogue deck that's kind of popular, it turns off their ruler softlock. So you turn off the ruler, you shuffle their field engrave, and then you set up your own lock, and it doesn't really matter if they've got Trish, because like you're going to have like 8 cards on the field. It doesn't matter if they Trish a couple of them. And then the last card was 3 Reboot, because it's just ignorant towards background decks. This definitely should have been limited. It wasn't a healthy card for the game.
Yeah, it's just this game. If they have one background, it's like can't use any more traps. That's it. It's not 1 now. So what would you swap it out for?
So Reboot's a bit more of a difficult one because I got to a point where I was siding in Reboot when they made me go first.
Yeah.
Because if they impermanence me, not only does this negate the impermanence, it then serves as an extender. Because you can't use Tiaramisu's effect in turn 1. But if you reboot their impermanence, they set the impermanence, set another card, then you can actually use the Tiaramisu to shuffle.
So cards to shuffle back, yeah.
Yeah, so if you end on the standard Magileine combo or Petingcessoeur and any level 4, it changed it so that you were ending on Tiaramisu, Teacher and Sister instead of Choco a la mode, Teacher and Sister, which means that this card's threatening game and they have to acknowledge it. What I'd replace it with would probably be Lightning Storm. I don't actually think it's as good as Reboot, but it's still very, very good. And despite Spiral not being weak to it, with Altergeist and Guru being quite popular in the format, I think that the card's still very good.
Okay, so yeah, that's it for the Madolche top 8 to 8th place regional deck profile. Any final shout outs, Connor?
Shout out to Julian for getting me back into the deck way back when.
Yeah. I think he did the profile before the new XEs.
Yeah, Julian helped me get back on my feet with this deck because I played it before Petingcessoeur came out, but I needed running up to speed, and he was the one who not only did he show me the deck at the time, but I also still regularly talk to him about combo theories.
Yeah.
Shout outs to every Madolche player that plays Extravagance because you're wrong. And shout outs to my first 5 rounds for not reading my cards.
Yeah, alright then. That's it. That's Dwyer for you. We've done the Madolche deck. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.